a lot of people get this question wrong. So I understand why. We really need to fight our temptation here to just define the word basic, right? We use that word all the time. It's a very basic word. However, in this case, it's being used in a very specific way that I think is very common, but is not the way that we probably use it in our conversations. So the key here is to make sure we understand the context. So we're supposed to go back and try to come up with a guess for what the word means. And so in this sentence, it's kind of a long sentence, but it had long been thought that the adult brain was incapable of spawning new neurons, that while learning caused synapses to rearrange themselves and new links between brain cells to form, the brain's basic anatomical structure was more or less static. So it's, I don't know. It's, I don't know here. I don't know that you'd be able to come up with a word. I'm trying to really put myself in your shoes here. Its main anatomical structure? But that's hard, so maybe we'll put a question mark, right? I get that you might not be able to come up with a guess here. But we still need to use the context to understand what this word means. So if we cannot come up with a strong guess of what it means without looking at the choices, then our job should be to look at the choices and put them back into the sentence and see if we can make the definition fit with what else is going on. So initial anatomical structure was more or less static. Well, no, they're talking about it changing. The brain is changing. So it has nothing to do with time. Time is not necessarily passing here. So initial is just wrong. We're talking about change. So the initial anatomical structure, it is changing. That's kind of the point of what they're saying, right? So the next thing, and the thing that most people pick, the word simple, right? Because that's what we associate with the word basic. However, think about the context here. They're not really describing the brain as something simple. Right? Go back to the beginning of the paragraph. The brain is a mutable organ capable within limits of reorganizing itself and readapting to new kinds of sensory input, a phenomenon known as neuroplasticity. It had long been thought the adult brain was incapable of spawning new neurons, that while learning caused synapses to rearrange themselves and new links between brain cells to form. This sounds pretty complicated. The brain's simple anatomical structure was more or less static. This is going against what the passage is saying about the brain. And these lines specifically, it's not painting the picture as the brain as something simple. It's not the right meaning. Its necessary anatomical structure, well, that word is very, very strong. We would need some evidence that they were talking about some necessary part of the brain versus unnecessary. This word is just weird to me. And that leaves us with fundamental. And that's definitely what they're talking about here. They're trying to make a contrast. Certain things can change, right? That while learning caused synapses to rearrange themselves and new links between brain cells to form, right? So there's certain things that can change. The brain's fundamental or essential or main structures didn't change. They were more or less static. So it's trying to set up a contrast between there's limited change in very specific things, but the more general, more essential brain structures didn't change. And now McGuire's going to say that that's not true. But I get why this is hard. And this is just a reminder that on the vocab questions for the reading section, we really need to use the context of the lines because they are going to ask about words that we know very well. It's not like the old SAT where they asked about weird, crazy words you never heard of. These are words you're familiar with. But the definition in the lines might be different from the definition that you're used to. So we really need to rely as much as we can on the lines. Hopefully, we can come up with a guess on our own first without even looking at the choices. But if we can't, we still need to kind of plug these things in and think about whether or not anything in the lines is supporting that choice. In this case, simple actually goes against what the lines are suggesting about the brain. So that's why you really got to plug it back in and resist that temptation to pick the simplest thing. I would say then that the strategy here is really just to follow the +1 sentence rule. If we're told to go to that line and you don't understand what's going on, read a little extra, get some more context, and that will help you understand, hopefully, enough to get the question right.